So we're now on day 4 of the Squiggly Careers Skills Sprint, and today's skill is all about coaching yourself. And this is a really important skill for your squiggly career. I think regular listeners will know that because we've got a book called You Coach You, this is something we really care about. But we're going to give you the super short summary so you can take action with this skill today. So what is coaching yourself all about and why does it matter? It's really about increasing your self-awareness so you understand a bit more about why you might be feeling or responding a certain way to a situation, but it's also about taking action. It's the awareness and the action that coaching yourself results in. And when you are able to coach yourself, one of the really helpful things is that it reduces your dependency on other people for your development. So I don't always have to go to Sarah for her advice about what I should do in my career. And it's not that you can't go and get some of that support. Of course, that is really useful, but often it's better if you start with yourself first, because then you get through hard times quicker and the actions that you take are more likely to be effective because you've generated them. So I feel like it's like a bit of a super skill in a squiggly career when we crack this one.
Yeah, and I don't think we are suggesting that this replaces career conversations. No. I think what we find from our learners and the feedback we get from our community is if you learn to coach yourself, you sort of get halfway there and then you almost use a career conversation in a more useful way to fill in the gaps or when you get stuck. And I think people don't give themselves enough credit that everyone can learn to have this coaching capability. I think people feel like, oh no, this is too hard, or I'm not a qualified coach, and he's gone to talk to someone else. But actually, when you start to learn these skills, once you've got a bit of a framework and you start practicing, everyone's brilliant at this. We've all got the capability to do it. And then I think you kind of go, well, then who can help me with the bits that I don't know, or who could be a really useful sounding board for the thoughts that I've already had. So like you say, sometimes I think you can just move forward by yourself and you can just make progress, or sometimes I think it just increases the quality of your career conversations.
Well, I also think when you develop it for yourself, you can also use this as a skill with other people. So if I get good at coaching myself, actually when I do have a career conversation with Sarah because she wants to talk to me about something, some of those skills that I've honed I can use with other people. So what is your idea for action for coaching yourself?
Well, I think we've got to make this really practical, and I would recommend using coaching questions with 3-minute mind maps. And we can all fit 3 minutes into a day, I think. I think most people feel that that's realistic. But if we just say, well, just do a 3-minute mind map about your career.
Yes, a bit daunting.
It's too, and vague.
Yeah.
So it's like daunting and abstract, which is never a good combination. Whereas instead, if you use a coach yourself question, and that sort of goes in the centre of your mind map, and then you just go, right, I'm just going to spend 3 minutes answering this question. And the thing that I would encourage you to do if you have a go at this exercise is use all of the 3 minutes. Even if after 2 minutes you finished, just stay with it, because sometimes in the last 10 seconds of that 3 minutes, that's when you have a bit of an aha insight, or you come up with something you've not thought of before. So some good questions could be, what do I want to be true in 12 months' time that isn't true today? Or what learning goals have I got? Or who could support me to go further and faster in my career? Or even just what roles would I like to explore in my career to progress in my career for the next 6 to 12 months? So you set your own question. I would do one question at once, make sure they're an open question. And I think it can be helpful to do the same question every day for a week. So you could do a 3-minute mind map every day on a different question. So then you've done 5 by the end of a week. Or you could think, well, this question is so important and quite a big question, quite a zoomed out question. I'll keep coming back to it. And I'll just do 3 minutes and I'll come back the next day. Do I notice anything new? Has anything else sprung to mind kind of in the meantime? And when we do this live in workshops, everyone has quite a different experience of it. Some people are like, that 3 minutes took a lifetime. And other people are like, I'm just getting started. So again, you might want to adapt it a bit based on like how you experience it. But I would encourage everyone to do at least 3 minutes.
I also think Sarah is the queen of questions. Like, you've always got a good question to
I'll take that, queen of questions.
The queen of questions. You can have that one. Mine is all about understanding your thinker versus doer default. So Sarah is more of a thinker than me, for example. So she's highly reflective, spends time in her head, will consider things for quite a long time, and will consider multiple options. That's just the nature of being a thinker. I'm a doer, which means I'm all about action. So you give me an idea and I've already run with it, and I'm already on it. I'm already thinking about how we fix it fast and get it done. That is just my doer nature. The reason you want to understand your doer default is we are trying to get awareness, what thinkers are great at, and action, what doers are great at, and both in kind of equal measure. And so your default is pulling you more to one of those traits. And so if you are a doer like me, it's really useful for how you bring a bit of Sarah in. So questions, for example, it's not my nature to ask reflective questions and to spend 3 minutes thinking about it. It's not my nature. So actually your action is a really good to balance out my natural way of responding to it. Whereas what would you, as a natural thinker, how would you bring a bit of me into your world?
I would still ask questions, but I would ask how questions rather than why questions. So thinkers tend to ask why, like, why is this important? Why does this matter to me? Your face, you're like, I don't need to know why. Whereas you would ask how.
Yeah.
How do we move forward? How do we make this happen?
What do we need to do first?
Yeah, or like a what do we need to, which is a very action-focused question. So yeah, if I wanted to swap shoes with you and put on your high uncomfortable shoes that you wear, I would just get into that. What's going to give me momentum? How do I make some progress with pace? I probably would be asking myself, like, what's the first thing I could do? Mm-hmm. How could I be further ahead by the end of today than I am right now?
This already sounds like me.
Yeah, I know it does.
Yes.
I spent enough time with you. I know it does. And so, but actually, that's sometimes it's a real unlocker. Sometimes the way that people even do this exercise is they sort of have like an empty chair. You know, they literally go, I'm going to visualize that person, or I'm going to move physically and sort of pretend to be that person. And I think you'll be surprised sometimes how just sort of seeing your problem from a different perspective just means you can make some progress in a way that you couldn't before. You sort of escape your own thinking, which is really useful.
Yeah, really, really useful.
So we've got a useful free resource for you here, which is 21 Coach Yourself questions. So there'll be a link to that in the show notes. And if you would like to dive a bit deeper, we do have a book called You Coach You. We did debate whether it feels a bit salesy to mention it, but we were like, we have written a book on this topic. So we decided it was okay to mention that as well.
So that is the end of today's skill. And tomorrow we're going to be back talking about influencing.
So thanks so much for listening, and bye for now.